Thanks everybody for joining us for this meeting. So first, probably what we want to do, Jane, do you want to have a roll call?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you call it? I think that worked better the last time.
Will do. Paul Ash.
Here.
Alex Crowley.
Here.
Julie Donham.
Here.
Margaret Fetty. Oh, I thought we had Margaret.
I'm here.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Mary Morgan.
Here.
And Kate, I don't think is with us. Karen St. John.
I'm here, thanks.
Scott Wright.
Here.
And Jackie Anna.
Here.
And I'm Jane Cooper Smith is also here.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Jane sent us out the packet. Has everybody had an opportunity to just look at the 6, 10, 20 minutes?
I have a question.
Mary?
In the approval of minutes.
I see that. Yes, sorry.
Okay, it says a Jane seconded. I don't know who seconded, but probably not Jane.
So the minutes we're looking at in the packet are from June 10th, not May 13th.
Well, that was when we approved. We did approve 2 sets of minutes though at that June 10th meeting, I think.
Yes, we did.
Right, but today we're looking at the June 10th minutes.
Right.
Okay.
But in the approval, Mary just said, it says Jane seconded, and I don't know that we have a Jane. Or you can't second probably.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that in that minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can correct that and bring them back next time if you.
I just corrected, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any other changes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval. Yeah.
Okay, so
Second.
I think Jackie's the second, Karen's a first. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, thanks for the minutes. So Jane, I'll move on to you for the reports from officers and committees.
So, yeah.
Hey Jane, can I interrupt for 1 second? Is this meeting intended to be recorded? I don't see that happening. So I just want to make sure that that's the case.
I'm not sure. That's a question for.
Okay, we're good.
Is it going?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, director's report. So I'll give you an update of activities since we last met, and then we'll go over the financials with Kevin. For the first item, which is about our website and grant program applications, I wanted to introduce you to Sarah Dalaga, who is our trustee ESD intern this summer. She comes to us from the BEDC. So she's been familiar with activities to date. Sarah, can you give a quick overview of what you're up to, and I'll screen share if you want to talk us through.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I am an O'Neill student, and I've been at the BEDC, and I'm here this summer. So if you remember what the old UEA website looked like, it was a lot of text, pretty condensed together. And so I tried to alleviate some of that and make it more user-friendly. So there's like an intro page, and then depending on who you are and your needs, there's like the map gallery, and then there's like the resident page and like an arts page. Oh, there's a map gallery.
This project came out of feedback from a few different conversations that we haven't had a lot of activity in certain programs of ours. Sonar Arts always has a lot of activity. Business scholarships, facade grants have been underutilized in the last few years, and sometimes the obvious isn't always obvious. And it was mentioned that our copy is, was pretty dense and hard to understand. So Sarah's taken kind of first stab at at remediating that, and then we'll continue refining it. So, feedback welcome, and this is a work in progress. And so along with this, we'll be moving our applications online for grant programs, which I think will also increase participation and then decrease staff time in managing it. So that's exciting. And then kind of one of the cooler things, sorry, I stole your floor, Sarah. I'm going to brag about her
Okay.
though. One of the cooler things that she's working on, it just started, is the impact page. So in all of our reporting requirements for grants and the tax programs, we collect information about job creation, and it's just all been on paper and kind of disparate locations. So Sarah is in the process of wrangling that for us, and I think that will be really neat to share. And then I also think we will be able to note the uptick in participation. So we'll have kind of a baseline for the grant programs, and yeah, hopefully that will go up from there. Sarah, did you want to say anything else on this subject?
No, I think we got it all.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And then anyone else have anything on that?
Will we be adding some of our like new logos and things like that online too?
Yeah, I think so. We have to go through the city, because it's a city page, it's subordinate to the city style guide. So I think we'll embed our new branding as long as it fits within the web suite, design suite requirements. So yeah, Sarah had put the banner up and it looked great, but then we kind of pulled back so that we'll have the city designer do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Getting to
Yeah,
that point, actually, the putting up a brand kit or something like that's sometimes helpful too, right? If people, is one of the requirements for grants and that sort of thing is to include logos, that might be a nice way to do that as well.
oh yeah, post that on the website so people can just download it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, and I guess I would also note that we were sort of really regularly posting on social media and have slowed down on that in the last couple of months. I think part of that is just being really busy with COVID, and then part of that is that our community attention is focused elsewhere right now, which I think is okay, but we haven't lost sight of that, and we'll get rolling with that as well. Yeah, so.
Jane, can I ask a question about that? In terms of social media, I noticed our Facebook account has like 25 people who like it, which is not a lot, but it's a good start. Knowing that that's kind of a new presence, it might be helpful. Other organizations I've been in where the board is asked if you have a Facebook account to invite people to like the BUEA Facebook page, and that, it starts to gain ground and accelerate as people do that on social media. So
Yeah, we can do that.
certainly-
Sarah and I can add that to our list, and it really just needs some attention, and I think it will happen after that.
Yeah. So I don't know, like Mary through the chamber, if you're able to do that as a member of the board, just to invite people to like the page or not. You may or may not want to do that, but it really can help us out quite a bit in terms of this sort of brand awareness too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have a lot of, I'll give some thought. I'm happy to help promote it. I'm not sure inviting friends, but I'll do some targeted.
Nice.
promotion.
Thanks.
And I do
Karin,
think
you should also know, Karin, that the original Facebook page that was posted, this was years ago, I think, just as I was starting at the city, I think there were 2 people who liked it. So we're actually doing really well relative to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've at the Bloomington Health Foundation with our rebranding in 2018 went through the same process, and it takes a little bit, but once you get like enough going on the like little tiny snowball, it really does start to gain some ground. So yeah, I understand.
Okay, so the next item is the RRF loan update. And so this is kind of a little summary of the business we've supported with the $350,000 RRF fund commitment from the BUEA. Just as a reminder, these the terms of the loans are 3 years. There's a 3-year turnaround, a 6-month grace period, and the interest rate is 2%. If the businesses pay back within the first year, they do incur interest expenses. So, a quick turnaround as a bridge fund, and you can tell that we've cycled through a lot of this cash today. We're anticipating a potential end of the program on June 30th. So this loan program is paired with the food and beverage funds that have been allowed to be allocated by government executive orders. And we were anticipating an end with the last order on June 30th, but we did extend that. So at this time, the food and beverage and kind of by default, the BUA funds can continue to loan out through the end of July. So I would anticipate that we loan out every last penny. These 2 loans on its routes have been the offers and sitting out there a while. So I've requested that they recuse themselves. They're not going to recuse, but they officially deny the offer if they're not going to take it, so that we can put that money to work for someone else. But you can see there's a range of businesses, some larger, and then some really small sole proprietorships that I think I'm really especially happy to be able to help with this. Any questions?
Jane, this is not specific about the content, but is anybody else having trouble hearing Jane, or is that just something on my end? Okay,
I had a problem too.
You were breaking in and out a little bit, Jane. I think we caught most of it, but just so you know, there's a...
My headphones on. Sorry about that, guys.
It's ironic because they're about 10% of the people in City Hall. There's presumably the same bandwidth, and yet it, I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can. Okay.
I would just add in that I was part of this review process for these loans, along with a bunch of other folks who were invited to join that review committee. I was part of the qualitative review, so I'm not a banker. Every loan had a banker who did an actual banking review of the loan. And then there were 3 people who did qualitative loans, which I was a part of that group, along with a lot of other folks. And it was more around, there were probably a dozen questions around, does the business, what does it add to the downtown? What is it, how long has it been in business? Some of those things. And then we also determined from our own opinion, after reviewing the information, if it would get a BUEA loan or a food and beverage tax loan. And then that all went to that final committee. So I would just say I thought it was really professionally run and well done, and used a really great online portal that was super thorough. And I think certainly there were improvements, but even partially through, Alex corralled us along with the folks and got feedback and improved it. And so I thought it was really well done in a really tight time frame for something that was fairly complicated. So hats off to you guys for making this happen.
Thanks, Karin, and thanks for volunteering your time for the program.
If I can add a couple of things just from the perspective of, so one is just to reiterate, I think we may have spoken about this before, but the importance of the BUEA pot really became evident quickly early on as these requests were coming through, because the food and beverage requirement, while we tried to create as generous a set of policies towards that as possible, because obviously that was the bigger pot. So we were always trying to solve for that first, because that was going to be, the bigger pot, and we knew that. But it just became really clear how important the BUEA's role in the RRF was, because there were definitely, as Jane pointed out, there are definitely businesses that, especially in today's environment, we really wanted to go out of our way to help, that would not have qualified for food and beverage. And so the opportunity to have them benefit from this program through the BUEA side of things was really important. Now we do have some money left over in the food and beverage side of things still. And the food and beverage side of the equation may be tied to the executive order, is tied to the executive order from the governor, which was just extended. So there's a little bit more runway on that. And this is, you know, most of this is tied up on the BUEA side. So I think, Jane, where you were cutting out a little bit, you may want to reiterate is you know, some of those outstanding loans that have not yet been activated and what we want to do about that, and just make sure everybody understands that.
Yeah, so I think what you're indicating is that the food and beverage loans, their runway goes through July 1st. And then the BBA, I think, you know, we're at 294 out the door now. And I think maybe you all will have to decide whether you want to tie these loan funds to that date, or if we could have, you know, COVID is not going away. I think there will continue to be need for these funds. So if we get applicants in September, could we loan the funds out at that time?
Jane, it's happening again.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to handle this.
Why don't you try to kill your video, see if that helps, and then.
Would love to do that. There we go. Is this any better?
Yes.
You do sound better, Jane.
Great. Well, you guys see what we're working with at City Hall. Yeah, so Alex was saying the runway is up for the Food and Beverage Fund July 31st, and BUEA board, I think maybe at our next meeting, you'll need to decide, or I suppose we could have the conversation now, whether you want to continue to allow the, you know, if we have $30,000 left on July 31st, could we potentially loan that money out in August or September? Do you tie the deadline of the BBA portion of the RRI loan program to the deadline of the food and beverage? And it could be that the executive order continues to be extended. So I don't know, Alex, do you think that we need to have a formal discussion about that now, or Julie, or do you think just pointing to that?
Well, I think a couple of things. We need to figure out where the 30,000 down below the people that we've pledged money to that haven't taken it. We probably kind of need to give them a drop dead date. So that obviously gives us more funds to lend. And I don't mind stretching out the runway.
And I did that this morning. I gave them they've had these offers for a long time. And so I gave the drop dead date of Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, and I'd say, yeah, I am not opposed to stretching it out. You know, if the end of September makes sense, that's fine with me. So I don't know how everybody else feels.
I think that's, Julie, a good idea. I worry that we are by no means out of the woods. And, you know, as you look at things like PPP runways and, you know, how people are consuming that, you know, and some uncertainty related to August, September, I think that having that, if especially if food and beverage goes away, but either way, having the ability to have a secondary push if necessary with some amount of money would be probably a good idea to prepare ourselves for. We may not use it, but it would be good to have that ability.
And we'd still stay within our 350, which was our original even. And, you know, we talked a little bit yesterday about Tanya's Touch paying back, and I don't have any issues if the board doesn't have any issues of redeploying that money during this whatever time frame we give them also. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
I'm okay with that as long as we're within our 350, that we can, you know, maybe just to make it, should the board agree, after discussion here, maybe make it official with some kind of vote so it's on the record and clear what we intend for Jane and Alex to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, you guys seem to be talking amongst yourselves, I guess, with this thing with Tanya's Touch. I don't understand what we were talking about there.
Sure. So this is Jane, since you can't see me. I'll highlight the the cells on the screen. So the total amount that we've loaned out, so the total amount we've earmarked was 350. The total amount that we've loaned out is 344. But because Tanya's Touch has repaid 50, we reallocated this 30,000, which hasn't been loaned out, but it's been, I guess, activated in a way. Basically, we've recycled a certain amount of funds. I didn't do that math. I'm offhand. So we've circulated 374 total, even though we've only ever used 350 at a time. If we have deployed every single dollar at the same time, it would be 374. But because Tanya's Touch has repaid 50,000, and because these guys haven't actually taken their funds, we only have 294,000 that's been utilized right now.
Okay, I wasn't understanding that Tanya's Touch already repaid that money. So, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. They turned it around in like a week. It was kind of amazing. So what I'm hearing from the group is that we're looking at the deadline, the end of the program, and the $350,000 limit as kind of the parameters that the
50.
Yeah, 350,000 total, but it can be recycled as long as we stay under that amount at any given time.
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect, or is there any more discussion?
Julie, can I just ask a clarifying question just to make sure that we're all exactly on the same page, right? So we've talked specifically about Tanya's Touch. There's a possibility of repayments happening between now and, whenever, end of September or something like that. Should we just very clearly say that any monies returned between now and like the September meeting or the October meeting are able to be recycled, and that we peg a meeting month to as a review of that, and that ability to recycle is open until that particular moment, so that if someone else happens to pay back, we have clarity as to whether or not it's okay to recycle that as well.
Well, I was hearing people say that we were okay up to the 350 in total.
Regardless of whether whether someone else pays back, that's part of that equation then. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, 350 in total, yes, but so like Tanya's Touch paid back, that gave us 50 more thousand availability. Yeah, I mean, so we effectively had dispersed that, but we had that available to redisperse.
Right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is, if someone else, KC Designs, I'm making this up, happens to pay back, next month, what you're saying is that that could get redispersed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay, and that maybe we give ourselves till the end of September or something like that as an end date of that authority, and then we do a review maybe in the October meeting to say, all right, here's what happened, here's how it kind of wrapped up, and what do we want to keep going?
Right. Or do we want to keep going at that time?
Right.
I would be willing to put out a motion for discussion on this, Julie, if that works for you.
Sure.
So I would move that we extend the program to September 30th, and that up until that time, the outstanding balance of funds dispersed and commitments on loans never exceeds $350,000, which allows for funds to be redeployed if someone pays them back before September 30th, provided that the funds are not redeployed until the actual check clears the bank from the repayment, just so we don't get ourselves stuck somewhere. So the check must clear the bank, and we actually have the cash back in our account with a clear check, then we could redeploy those funds. But the outstanding balance, whether we've dispersed it or not, as long as it's committed, never exceeds $350,000.
I second that, because it is the longest motion I've ever heard. I applaud you.
Well, it was
That's a
little
compliment coming from Mary. She's attended a few meetings, I suppose. So, thank you, Karen and Mary.
Jane, do you want to do a voice count, or do we want to just, well, let's just try this. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I hear none, so motion passed. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That's a little complicated to discuss. So the next item I was going to chat about were our overall programming commitments. And it occurred to me this morning that, let's see, I think what I'll do for our next meeting, I'll go back to our budget spreadsheet for our August meeting and use that. But on this spreadsheet, I was using this to map out the individual programs. So bear with me this month. Next month's format will look a little more familiar. So, and this isn't perfect, but it sort of shows you where we are. Or it doesn't, because I moved a total. Anyway, we funded nearly half of our increased zone arts grants. The next round of funding will be in August. So we have 43,250 left to go there. This is a summary of the loan fund that we just discussed. And that'll go back down to 294 if the $30,000 of commitments expire on Monday. So we increased the zone business scholarship. Actually, it's unclear to me which scholarship we increased. I think either one. The total is up to 25,000. So I'll go back to our notes and look at that. But this is basically showing you that we have 2 payments left from 2019 that will need to go out probably today. And then we have a new scholarship in for 2020, which is exciting. This is a person who's studied something else in undergrad, left the workforce, is a mom, and is returning to get new certifications. So that's really exciting. And then when we wrap up our website update, we will start promoting the scholarships. And I think, maybe even by our next meeting, we'll have much longer lists. Down to the Zone Business Scholarship Gather. So they're approved for $1,200, and the majority of that was going to, oh, look at that typo, fees and advertising related to, they've retooled their model given COVID, and they do a lot more online events now. And so these are mainly Facebook promotional ads. And there was one other small expense attached to that, but that was just kind of a nutshell. Balanced Lifestyle Services is an RRF loan recipient. It's a company, it's a zone resident and a zone business. They do a few different things. There's like lifestyle coaching, and then they'll also come clean your chemicals out of your home and help you build a suite of home products that are non-toxic, and they'll do cleaning. So they do a whole bunch of different things. And she's pursuing training related. So those haven't been paid yet. I'm waiting on documentation. And then we have the Frosted Foods building for the historic facade grant, which we approved last time. Work is underway there today. So if you have time to drive by and look at what our BUA funds are up to, you can see that there. I'm sorry, I don't have a total. I was looking at it before we started the meeting. Connor and I realized that we had not actually paid out on the Waldron Historic Facade Grant, which I believe was for tuck pointing. And I think it was 2019. So I'll look into that. I think that, some of you may know that the city has taken the Waldron back from Ivy Tech. And so I'm not sure if that grant is still alive or not, but that would be something I think we would need to discuss before we pay out. Lemonade Day, we signed that MOU fast and furious via email for the ad, and then the event was canceled and COVID happened, so we never paid them our subsidy this year. But I think that we still should. I don't know if we need to have a conversation about that or not. It's basically supporting the programming that will return next year. And Alex and I, they did still do some events this year. They did video pitches for their lemonade stands, and some of the kids did build their stands even though they weren't able to conduct business. So it was really cool to see that. Alex, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that event.
Yeah, Jane and I participated in the event. It was a Zoom meeting. They had a couple kids. They had some videos that they showed of their stand. It was the cutest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But what they ended up realizing was that there was going to have to be a curriculum augment relative to the normal program, and it was actually pretty impressive that they were able to cobble together alternative ways of disseminating some of the learning that they would ordinarily be doing through a traditional program, and make it a good alternative experience. So it's a small thing, but it's just one of those programs where I just think it's both really great to see the kids get engaged and be excited about it, and also come away with some pretty good information. So I was really happy that we were able to participate in that.
So I guess in summary, I'll present this information. It'll be tightened up and in the format of our old budget document next meeting. And then I think we can keep this as a rolling item, Julie, if you want to. Julie was wanting to know what spending we're committed to that's actually been earmarked and not paid. So I think that's important, and we'll continue to do that. We're at the halfway mark. Kevin, could you jump on and walk us through our financials, if you don't mind?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I was going to say, is that the first sheet? Okay. So profit and loss. The biggest change from last month was zone membership fees that were deposited in the month of June. And there obviously some interest and small amount of late fees, but nothing significant there.
And I just tallied.
Looking at expenses.
Sorry, I just tallied the remaining zone membership fees, and there's a deposit of $379,000 that's going through. Kevin, it's in your office whenever you're here next. So we're shy, I think, 10,000 in zone membership fees that'll be due by July 15th. So we're close. We're getting close. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, no problem. For expenses, we do have various grants. Not a lot of activity recently there, but total year to date was $17,267. We had insurance expense of $2,250. Some scholarships of totaling just over $2,000, giving us total expenses across that of $10,527, giving us ordinary income of $202,000, and then we had interest income in addition to that. So we ended up, as of June, just under $204,000 of net income.
Great.
Yeah. So if you want to go down to the balance sheet, then.
Oh, I thought I got those percentage changes out of there. Anyway. Okay.
So for the balance sheet, a couple of things. Looking at cash as of the end of June, we had 1,380,000. You'll see the checking balance is negative. There are two checks that are still outstanding. One of them was a check that went out to Ivy Tech, and I have not seen that come through the clearing the bank. And then Girls Rock Bloomington is the bigger amount, and I've not seen that clearing the bank. So if you were to look at our balance, on the bank statement, it's positive, but there are two checks that have not cleared. Then with German American Bank, we've got just under 214,000. IU Credit Union, 203,000 roughly, and then People's State Bank, 103,000. Now, we had not, as of yesterday, we had not received statements from those three banks, and I don't have online visibility. I believe People's State Bank, the next interest payment will be in July. So that's probably the balance. That should be the balance. For IU Credit Union, it's roughly, we received roughly $50 to $60 in interest, and then German American, it's usually a little over 100. So this balance is probably understated by about $150. But I will continue to try to track down those bank statements and then make sure I record it appropriately. Looking at accounts receivable, and the same will hold true for accounts payable. I've been going through the balances, and these are all from several years ago. So I'm going through the cash statements, transaction by transaction, to see why we have those balances, see if we've received them and we just didn't clear them against the payables or receivables. And I'll probably need to pull Jeff in because this predates me. Obviously, all that activity predates me. The significant change, and Jane went through in detail, are the notes receivable. Now you'll notice that the balance is higher than what she was showing, but that's because we have other RRF related notes, just kind of scanning through Michael's Uptown Cafe, the TAP, the Owlery, Topologous Investments. Those are all outside of that program. So the amount's going to be different. Now, one thing I noticed, and Jane, maybe you could share that spreadsheet with me that has these, because I noticed that Tanya's Touch, we did receive $50,000, and when I looked into QuickBooks, I had that clearing against That's the Rub, and I didn't see That's the Rub on your. So I don't know if that because when we first started recording these,
yeah.
Okay, so in any case, I'll need to and that's a simple entry to if I need to clear it against this instead of that. But that, other than that, I think I was kind of scanning through your list and we lined up, other than the fact that there are those other notes receivable that exist. And then again, I mentioned accounts payable. So I'm continuing to look into that, and I'll get some time with Jeff to try to understand those older transactions.
Great. Questions?
Hey, Jane, did we ever find out anything about the Topologous that was not current?
No, but I've emailed him yesterday, so I will report back in August.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Kevin, I was not following you when you were talking about, was it the accounts payable that were not, I guess I'm confused about what on this balance sheet is not actually reflecting reality.
Right. So, and I don't know that it's not. I just know that when I looked at it, specifically looking at the accounts payable activity, the outstanding balances date back to 2014 through 2017, and then it looks like after that point everything was generally recorded on a cash basis. So as we received checks, it was recorded as income and an increase to cash. So the cash balances are in line. So everything's been recorded. I just don't know. What I need to do is go back and see, okay, where we received cash, did we receive payments from, those vendors that are, or I'm sorry, where we paid cash in the case of accounts payable. I need to look at the payments to the vendors that have outstanding balances and just see if there was something that we recorded that didn't clear against the payables. So that's and because again, it kind of predates me, I may need to pull Jeff Underwood in to just understand what those balances represent, why they wouldn't have been cleared already.
Okay.
Or if they're truly outstanding balances.
So I've got that.
Those are related to the entirety of the $19,279.
That's correct. Yeah. When I pulled up that detail, I think the last entry that was posted against accounts payable was in 2017.
Okay, great.
Same thing with accounts receivable too, right, Kevin?
That's correct. Yep, that's exactly correct.
Okay. Thanks for tracking that.
So I'll dig into it. I'll find out, if we need to clear it, if it's something that needs to be cleared, I'll correct it. If they're truly outstanding balances and we owe, I wouldn't think that we would owe somebody and we wouldn't have heard from them. But
yeah.
And likewise, if the receivables are truly balances due us, then we'll have to look into what that history is.
Yeah.
Too.
So we'll report back on that in August specifically. We can talk about that during financials. I'm going to move us along if it's okay, because we're at 12:44 already, which is hard to believe. Time flies when you're having fun. So I guess I'll talk about under new business, the zone resident and business scholarship disbursement amendment, because it's quick. And then we'll talk about CDFI friendly Bloomington. I guess when we amended the scholarship program for resident businesses, RRF, we decided to allow expenses to be paid up front. Usually it's a reimbursement scholarship, but because of financial hardship related to COVID, we said that we would allow payment up front so someone could pay for a class before they take it. It's some items I feel like are going to go to the individual. I guess I just wanted to clarify that we're not going to pay an individual for an Ivy Tech class up front. If I'm paying an individual, I should still be reimbursing them. If I'm paying an institution, it's okay to pay up front. And this maybe didn't need to be discussed at the whole meeting. I suppose I could have talked to Julie about this. Okay. Oh, let's follow up on that offline. I'm not hearing anyone in it. Okay.
I think you're good on that, Jane. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I put myself unmuted. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay. And then the item for CDFI friendly Bloomington board appointment, it's basically that I, as a board member of the BUEA, before I started working for the city, I was the BUEA board's representative on CDFI friendly BUEA is a founding donor for that organization. And so with that, we secured one general board spot and then one financial committee spot. So Julie has it's actually the loan committee. So Julie will be there reviewing the loan product or the loan applications that come in. But the board spot, since I'm now a staff member, I can't officially represent the BUEA on the CDFI friendly board. So we're in the case of needing to appoint a new person. And someone expressed interest, and I think they would be great. And the CDFI friendly Bloomington supports it. And so I think we need to discuss it as a group and then have a vote. That's okay with everyone.
Jane,
Julie?
I did not understand who you had. You're still breaking up a little bit. So
Oh gosh.
Who is nominating? Who's being nominated?
I can't nominate anyone, but here, let me stop the share so you can all see each other. Scott Wright is who
Okay.
I think would be a great board member for CDFI friendly Bloomington. And then you guys will need to discuss and have a vote. And Scott has, I feel so weird not seeing everyone. That's why I'm awkward. One of the reasons. But yeah, so Scott's expressed his willingness and interest in participating. He has an MBA, and so I'm confident will understand and be useful in discussing the finances of that organization and it's kind of complex and technical. So, and Scott, you've talked to Brian Payne about it. Is that?
That's correct. So Brian and I talked about it recently, and he, reached out a bit, and we've had a number of conversations, over maybe the last 6 months or so, just general things about, what, CDFI friendly does. And I'm interested in it, and I'm definitely interested in, community building and folks that don't actually have the type of access to, to financial products, and what, CDFI is doing. So it's, if the board here would allow me, that's a position I'd like to take and be a part of. So I would accept the nomination.
Julie, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And Scott, we would be, I think, honored to have you represent us. Probably need somebody to make a motion that you would represent us on the CDFI board. Can I have a motion? Or is there any other discussion?
I would move that we appoint Scott to the position with the CDFI representing the BUEA.
All right, thanks,
I'll
Carmen.
second that.
Second from Jackie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Scott, for representing our interest and watching over our money there at the CDFI. So we appreciate that. So
My pleasure.
look forward to hearing your reports.
Okay, excellent. My pleasure.
So under unfinished business, thank you, Scott, and thanks board for supporting that. Under unfinished business, there's the revision bylaws /map. I just wanted to update you guys that this is really a complicated undertaking, and I don't think I can turn this around super quickly. So I just wanted to set expectations there. I'm not sure what a turnaround would look like, but I think this is something that fall SPIA intern would be able to look into. And yeah, so I'm communicating / asking permission, I guess, with that, if that's okay.
I think that is going to be a big job, but it's obviously
Yeah.
something that we probably need to do.
Yeah.
At this time, can you talk a little bit about your new EZID with Catalent?
Yes, we, the BUEA, I think everyone knows, but I'm just going to keep kind of going over because we have new folks, but the BUEA gets its money for programming from enterprise zone investment deductions. Those are real property and personal property deductions the owner claims them and then remits 20% of their savings to the BUEA and 1% of their savings to the Association of Indiana Enterprise Zones. Our largest EZID is through Catalent, and it's the value of it's like $30 million, and we get, half the value of our EZID revenue from that. And it rolls off in 2021, I believe, which I could actually confirm while we're talking. So, that's, we need to figure out how to make that income. So when we were talking about this, we talked about the idea of shifting the maps away. I'm not super confident in that, but we're going to look into it. And then we talked about focusing on personal property as their way to get around the lack of ability to approve new EZIDs because of the TIF district. So anyway, this is all to say, Catalent has a new personal property EZID that's worth $1.8 million. So that's, I guess I didn't calculate what that check will look like, but that's new. So it'll go on for 10 years from the start date, which is this year. So we're really excited about that. And actually, they filed that after July 15th. So we do have one more to do, and that's to approve the extension for Catalent's 2019 Catalent's 2020 EZ2. It's their registration. I'm sorry, there's so many things going around. We don't have to vote on that because it's not past a year. No, we have to vote on it, but we don't have to provide documentation because it's not past a year. So we do need to vote on that today, if that's okay.
So tell me what we are, because they filed it on July 15th as opposed to June or May.
They filed it on, I think they filed it on June 17th instead of June 15th. And so the auditor would like us to approve the filing, the late filing for Catalent's new personal property EZID.
No, I mean, obviously this is a new ongoing source of revenue for us for 10 years. I'm not sure why we wouldn't do it, but is there any discussion on this at all?
I feel like I don't have any documentation and possibly it's because I'm new, but
I didn't have it. I don't have their EZID in hand yet, but because we were, I'm sorry, everyone. I just don't have it. So I think if we need to postpone the vote, that's fine. I don't think it's going to change what the auditor's office does. Last time I had them fill out the EZBE form, so we were looking at the value of the deduction, even though that doesn't actually affect our auditor's office. So I'll have that at the next meeting. If the auditor's office needs it sooner than that time, I suppose we could do an email vote, but I don't think we're going to need to do that.
Okay, then we can look at that at the next meeting.
Yeah.
But that was a good win, I thought.
Yes.
I think it's a good win.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry for that fumble. It's just backing and forthing with my compatriot Patrick at the auditor's office, and we were talking about it yesterday, and I neglected to get it from him. So that's a mea culpa. But it's still good news.
So we're going to put the maps and bylaws type thing on hold. We're going to look at Catalent next time. I think also next time we have determined that we never really had an election of officers. So we are going to take a look at that. That's going to be in your pre-meeting stuff next time, your pre-meeting information, just to set up the list of officers. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's something I don't know what happened at the first of the year, but it evidently is something that slipped by us. So I apologize for that. Do you have other discussion, Jane?
No, huh?
Okay. Does anybody else have anything more for the good of the order?
when we're looking at perhaps changes to the map, we might consider including north of 17th Street because of the Trinitas development that will go in there. It's just a thought.
Okay, thanks.
If I can just, we should talk about it just for a minute, but it's obviously a very complicated moment in Bloomington right now. And I think one of the things the BUEA is very well positioned to do, and perhaps this is, Jane, something we can put on the agenda for next month, is to look at ways in which, as an organization, we can review how programmatically we are thinking about, the issues that are being raised, racial justice and equality and equity generally, and look at ways that maybe our programs either are or are not, meeting the need right now. And I think that could be something that would be a really good exercise for us, that could potentially yield concrete results in a way that that the BUEA is particularly well positioned to execute on, given its flexibility.
Yeah, and I think that part of that discussion is just remembering that the map has a twofold impact. One is the impact of income. It determines where our income is generated, but then the benefits, it determines how the benefits are applied. So we could consider adjusting the map so that, the benefits can be more broadly applied to our community, even if that doesn't necessarily mean additional income. So food for thought. That's all I have.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Thanks, Alex. And if not, our next meeting is going to be August 12th. And I assume that we will be online still? Okay, we will still be online. So thanks everybody for your participation and making this all work. So I think it's good that everybody's on and we're seeing everybody. So I appreciate you going to the extra trouble to make this all work. So thanks, Jane, for everything. So
thanks for your patience, all.
So, all right, everybody have a good week.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Can you get a motion?
Oh,
Adjourn.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.